Welcome back. So you're still here with us at Black Hat 2024 with Cyber Risk Alliance, and I'm Mandy with Security Weekly. Now I'm joined by Theresa Lanowitz, the Chief Evangelist at Level Blue. Teresa, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mandy. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you so very much. I am very glad, and I'm very interested because you were here today and brand new research was dropped.
Yes, we just announced brand new research, our Level Blue C-Suite Accelerator. And the C-Suite Accelerator is it's a new piece of research coming from our flagship Level Blue Futures Report.
Right.
So we have our Futures Report, which went out. We interviewed 1,050 survey participants across 18 countries,
Okay.
C-Suite minus one, so directors,
Nice.
vice presidents, and so on. And then what we have now is the Accelerator. And the Accelerator is a way for CISOs, CIOs, and CTOs to be able to make decisions quickly around cyber resilience, risk, and compliance.
Beautiful. I mean, those are such key elements, and it seemed like from looking through the Accelerator, you were really able to define that CISOs in particular need support. They
Yes.
need information,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And with this Accelerator, you're stepping in to give direction and some guidelines from a very broad view. I am curious, before we go into more, will you give me a synopsis of Level Blue's approach to the definition of cyber resilience?
Absolutely. So the way we define cyber resilience, and then we'll take a look at cybersecurity, and we also use the phrase dynamic computing. We'll define those
Okay.
as a level
Please,
set.
yeah.
So cyber resilience saying that your entire IT estate, when something happens to that entire IT estate, it's how you are able to recover and cope with that. So it could be a cybersecurity incident, it could be a man-made event, or it could be a natural disaster, a fire, a hurricane, a flood, earthquake, and so on. And then cybersecurity is looking exactly at that cybersecurity estate, those security operational functions that's going on. And then dynamic computing, we look at that as it's computing beyond the four walls of your organization.
Okay.
And the perimeter is dissolved. And the perimeter has been dissolved for quite some time. But dynamic computing, we look at these new and innovative use cases out there that the CTOs are really pushing. So in healthcare, things such as remote patient monitoring, wearables, manufacturing, robots on the manufacturing floor, smart buildings with preventive maintenance. So you can say, we know this elevator is going to break on Tuesday, so let's bring somebody out over the weekend to repair it so we don't have to disrupt our day-to-day business. So those
Proactive resilience.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
And the cyber resilience, just being able to recover from something that is going on and how the whole business looks at it, how the whole organization looks at it. And that's actually one of the things we found is that in our research, cyber resilience was not viewed as a whole business initiative. And that's really where we have to get.
Oh, which is interesting because I think for us in the technology space, we go, well, everything technology related is critical to how any business is operating, right? So why wouldn't the entire organization go, this is as vital as electricity, phone service, or anything else? And yet they don't.
Yeah.
Is
and
that
I think with cyber resilience, the word cyber is in front of it, and so organizations conflate that and say, well, why should I fund cyber resilience or be concerned about cyber resilience? Because I'm funding cybersecurity, and I have this whole cybersecurity group over there, and that's fine. They're going to take care of everything. And I think one of the lessons of that is just because you put the word cyber in front of it does not mean that it is only security. So you have to have that CISO, the CTO, the CIO working together as a team. And that's actually one of the things I think that you alluded to in the opening is that the CISO needs a little bit of help because oftentimes the CISO is reporting in many cases into the CIO versus into the CEO. So when we get to some type of IT estate event, the CISO is probably not wholly represented at the table. So that CISO has to have that proverbial seat at the table.
And with the Accelerator report, are there any parts that you found that you feel will be able to take the CISO, who's really looking at the immediate or practical implementation of security tools within the company, and bridge faster information or getting more support from the CIO?
Absolutely. And it's a team effort, so that CIO fostering those conversations internally, as well as bringing in trusted third-party advisors to help with things that you may not be used to. The CISO, making sure that the CISO has a proactive budget, because one of the things we found in our research is that across the board, projects do not have a through-line budget item for security. And you think about that, and you think about any type of project, any type of activity that you're doing, you should always have some type of budget item for security. Security is not part of those strategic computing discussions in the organization. So that's where the CIO and the CISO have to be able to communicate and work together very effectively. And that means, and this is one of the things that just, it was astonishing to me when we uncovered the research, that for all of the awesome work that we have done in the cybersecurity industry over the past 2+ decades, cybersecurity teams are still siloed, so they're not integrated into the rest of the organization.
Yeah.
They are still underfunded, so their budgets are not proactive, their budgets are largely reactive, and it's still an afterthought. So people don't sit down and say, okay, let's put together this architecture, and in the architecture, here's where security comes into play. And that's where we have to get to.
Well, and that makes me think of, I believe it was the summary in the Futures Report discussing really a huge recommendation to CISOs and to organizations to figure out how better to build the cyber resilience in from adoption of a tool or through their entire stack.
Absolutely, yes.
Why, if you're not on the extreme technical side, if you're not a practitioner who's dealing with the incident response or anything like that, and if you're on the very needed leadership side of an organization, beyond what you've said, why does cyber resilience matter in the organization? What's the bottom line?
Bottom line is, if your business goes offline because of that IT estate, you want to be able to bring that business back online as quickly as possible. But you also have to cope with your business while it is in that offline state. So how are you able to deploy ambulances? How are you able to check customers into a hotel? How are you able to have airplanes take off, board airplanes? How are you able to continue with your mining and drilling efforts in the event that you have some sort of cyber resilience necessitated activity that's out there? And I think one of the things everybody can understand is this idea of budget. So we see that the budget for the CISO is largely reactive. But here's the good news. And we'll frame it in a good news, bad news situation. So the good news is we uncovered in our research year over year between 2023 and 2024, per project, spending on cybersecurity went up 11% overall. You take a look at that and you say, that's great, but I'm looking at you and you're somewhat skeptical, correct?
I am.
So you're skeptical. And the reason it went up, because then we double click at that, because you look at that and you think, this is great. Cybersecurity experts, cybersecurity.
Improvement, yes.
Yeah, awesome improvement. But the reality is they're getting extra budget because of some type of external event. A breach,
Right.
a competitor's breach.
It's already been spent.
It's already been, and it's a reactive spend. It's not
Exactly.
a proactive spend. And if you look at
Absolutely.
incident response, we found that 35% of organizations say they have a formalized incident response plan. That means 65% do not have a formalized incident response plan. So that's fairly astonishing.
So why do CIOs, CTOs, and CISOs really see cyber resilience and cybersecurity differently?
They have different priorities inside the organization. If you look at a CIO is largely responsible for the business of technology. Okay. So they're looking at how is all of this technology going to run my business, regardless of what type of business I am. If you look at a CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, is focused on innovation. What can I do to deliver better outcomes for the people that we are serving as a company, regardless of whether I'm a B2B type of company or a B2C type of company?
Right.
And then the CISO is largely responsible for the operationalizing of security, making sure that they're going to manage the risk, making sure that they're going to manage those cyber events, implementing the proper security protocols, the proper cybersecurity controls, and so on. So while they all might have the same desired outcome, which is make our business as positive and as exciting as it can be, there are conflicting priorities along the way of how they get there.
Absolutely. Now, I appreciated from the Accelerator, the end summary for each role gave 5 key points that were identified as, hey, look at these, focus on these. Now, mentioning that the CTO generally looks more toward innovation, I find it interesting that for the CISOs, who is what we really want to help right now, that one of the recommendations was for the CISOs to integrate AI into the security strategies, and specifically about enhancing threat detection and response capabilities. Will you speak more on that?
Yes, absolutely. The CISO, AI is, it is the word of the year, or probably the word of the decade, right?
Yeah.
And so what we looked at when we went off and did our futures report, we wanted to understand how organizations were using AI. And what we found, and we wanted to find out how they were adopting it, whether they were using generative AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, part of a neural network. And what we found out is that respondents told us that across the board, for cybersecurity, now this is for cybersecurity only, they were taking a very much a slower approach rather than just rushing all in and saying, yes, we're going to apply AI to everything. Because I think here we are at Black Hat, you walk around the show floor and everybody has, now with AI, well, what does that really mean? Why should I care? What is that going to give me? What type of positive outcome is this going to give me? And so if you look at from a cybersecurity perspective, most organizations said they're using AI strictly for artificial intelligence. You look at things such as machine learning, and at Level Blue, we've been using machine learning in our threat intelligence for over a decade.
Okay.
And what we're able to do is we're able to go out and we're able to do pattern matches from those large data sets that we're collecting. So we're able to say, yes, this is the type of threat that you should be concerned about. We're seeing it over and over and over again. There's no way a human being could take that much data, look at all those indicators of compromise. So using it for something such as threat intelligence is an absolutely wonderful place to use it. Also, generative AI can be quite helpful as well, because the adversaries, so we think about, we're using these tools, we're using things such as artificial intelligence, but the adversaries, of course, are weaponizing them against us.
Right.
So the adversary weaponizing something such as generative AI against us, think about those emails that you used to get from the prince in a far, far away land who would say, just give me your bank account.
You mean my fiance?
You sent the prince your bank account number, all your information, and you're supposed to have all of the prince's worldly possessions in your bank account by the end of the day. Those emails, those phishing emails, they're getting better and better. They're looking very legitimate. And then you look at business, and that's part of business email compromise. You look at it, and they're doubling down now because deep fakes are getting better. So they're able to use deep fakes to impersonate a person. So maybe a CEO goes to a CFO and says, hey, you have to transfer this much money to an offshore bank account. And the CFO, being a good team player, says, of course I'll do it right away, because the CFO got a video call from their CEO.
Right.
And
time is money. Let's get it out there.
and it's fake. So
Right.
you have to be able to discern between those, and that's where you can bring some AI in as well. From a training perspective, just basic security hygiene, helping people understand that the game is getting far more advanced. The adversaries are far more determined right now as well.
Well, and it's doubling. The abilities are doubling, especially that the threat actors
Yes.
have access to on a lifespan that we've never seen before.
Right.
So I guess in a quick summary, is there any other point that you found particularly fascinating and helpful for a CISO from the Accelerator?
One of the things I think that CISOs need to do is really advocate for themselves.
Okay.
Advocate to have that seat at the table, to be able to say, I'm going to help you with business outcomes by aligning my cybersecurity budget to the business outcomes that you want to achieve. So having that CISO report into the CEO, I think that's one of the biggest things that we found, because we found out that cybersecurity is still siloed, underfunded, and overlooked. So let's bring us to the forefront and continue to eradicate those silos that we've lived in.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for being with us. So, to find out more about Level Blue, please visit securityweekly.com/levelbluebh. If you can't stick around for the rest of the live stream, or if you were catching this afterwards, head on over to securityweekly.com/black hat to find all of the Black Hat coverage by Cyber Risk Alliance.